So people shouldn't be mad when Ramaphosa is saying that could have benefited the country, because he's right. It could have benefited the country. Even if we can do it now, it is still going to benefit the country. It's just that right now it's going to be a very, very big inconvenience, because we can't just have kids running around here, because we are not transitioning from anything. So it's going to be a very, very big inconvenience. But if it was done back then, it would have been something that benefits the country. And to all the people who say, who's going to teach our kids if we close the schools for 2 years? What are our kids going to learn? Some parents, I really don't understand what's wrong with some parents. Well, I'm not saying schools should be closed for 2 years. But if you are a parent, you are going to come here and say your child won't learn anything for 2 years if the schools close. Then you must rethink your parenting styles. I don't think it's a good thing for a parent to say if the schools close for 2 years, then it means his child won't learn anything for 2 years. No. School shouldn't be the only place where your kid gets information. Teachers shouldn't be the only people that are teaching your kids.
We need to admit where we've made mistakes, and I'm the first in government to admit that we made a mistake. We should have started with early childhood development. Universal early childhood development should have started 30 years ago. That's what we should have done. And I'm also on record in saying maybe what we should have done, because we had a legacy of Bantu education, is to close all schools maybe for 2 years. A good friend of mine is laughing because she has heard me talk about this. Close all schools for 2 years, take the educators, take them to re-education centers and have them re-educated so that they are ready to now teach the children properly. Yes, the children would have run around in streets without any education for 2 years, but that would have gained us a lot of time to be able to reform our education at an early stage.
I see a lot of people out here are angry about what Ramaphosa is saying in this clip. People are asking the question, who's going to teach our kids for 2 years if you close the schools? So our kids mustn't learn anything for 2 years because you want to close the schools. People out here are speaking as if Ramaphosa said he wants to close the schools for 2 years. That is not what he said. We've just listened to what he said. What he said is, that is something that should have been done years ago when we transitioned from Bantu education into the education system that we use today. He's not saying he wants to close the schools for 2 years, because obviously that is not something that makes sense to do presently. It would have made sense back then when the transition happened, and say, you know what, since we are transitioning out of this Bantu education, let us pause for 2 years. Take these teachers and re-educate them so that when they go back to teach in a new system, they do not use the same teaching styles that they were using during Bantu education. That is what Ramaphosa is saying. And if you think about it, that is something that would have benefited our country if it was done back then. Because the problem of educators in this country is a problem that is not spoken of, but it is a problem that is there. And it is a problem that degrades our education system every year here in South Africa. Most of our educators, well, let me not generalize them. Most of our teachers, okay, let me talk about my own personal experience, because I'll be talking about something that I've seen, something that I know. When I was in primary school, when I was doing my grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, the teachers that were teaching me, most of them were in their 60s. You can see this man is well above his pension age. Some of them, they are close to the pension age. You can see that this person who's teaching me is a grandma, is a grandfather. Those are the people that were teaching me in primary. They were old. When I was doing grade 1 or grade 2, I didn't even know that there are teachers in their 20s, teachers in their 40s, because everyone who was teaching me was old, you know. And the way they were teaching, you can clearly see that these people, they are teaching the same way they were teaching during Bantu education. Nothing has changed. They are just generalizing us as the learners, as if we learn the same way. They haven't been trained to understand that there are different learning styles. So they generalize all of us as if we are the same. They expect us to learn and do the same way. You know, and that is a very, very big problem. It makes it seem as if some learners are dumb when they are not. It's just that those learners learn in a different way that the educator doesn't even understand. You know, I say this thing happened when I was in primary, but if I can tell you the truth, this thing persisted up until I finished my matric. Even when I moved to senior phase, even when I moved to high school, even when I was in high school, now seeing that there are teachers in their 20s, young teachers, because in high school I was being taught by a mixture of older teachers and young teachers. But even the young teachers still have the same attitude as the older educators. And I understand why. It's because them also, the people who were educating them in varsity, their lecturers, even going back to when they themselves were in high school, they were being taught by people who generalize everyone in class as if we learn the same way. So even now, when they are young teachers in their 20s, in their 30s, they are still using the same teaching techniques that they saw from their lecturers and their teachers in high school, of generalizing everyone. We learn differently. And what Ramaphosa is saying would have worked, because they were going to be taught that you shouldn't teach these people as if they are just sheep. You shouldn't teach these people as if they are just robots. No. Some of them learn by doing. Some of them learn by listening. Some of them learn by asking questions. Some of them learn by doing this differently. So don't generalize them. You can generalize them maybe when it comes to a certain topic, or maybe when you are presenting a topic for the first time. But when it comes to the way they internalize the information that you are bringing forth, you shouldn't expect the way they internalize that information to be the same. Okay, for me personally, let me tell you how I learn. For me personally, and it's sad because all of my teachers never understood the way I learn. In their eyes, I was someone who just doesn't want to engage in class. But when it comes the time to write tests, I always pass. But in class, I don't want to answer questions. I don't want to go to the board. I don't want to solve math problems. It was as if I don't want to follow their orders. But every time when there's an exam, there's a test, I pass, outstanding. So I always had this bad reputation with most of my teachers. Well, some understood me, but some didn't understand why I didn't want to participate in class. Even when I participate in class, maybe I go there in the front and I try to solve a particular math problem. In most cases, I will always get it wrong. Even when a teacher would come here with me and say, solve this problem, I will get it wrong. But every time there's a test, I always pass. So it was confusing for them. This man in class seems as if he doesn't understand the things that we are saying. But when it comes time to write a homework or a classwork or a test, he passes. So we don't understand what's wrong with this man. What they failed to understand is that personally, the way I learn, it doesn't matter. You can stand in front of me for 10 hours and teach me 2 things. Most likely, I won't be able to do those things if I haven't taken the time to read that thing for myself, to do it myself. I won't understand it. It doesn't matter how much you teach me. It's just the way I am. It doesn't matter how much you shout and teach me or do a certain math problem 10 times and you expect me to sit there and watch you do it. And then after that, you expect me to know how to do it too. I can't do that thing. I don't know. Some people know how to do that thing. Some people can sit there and listen to a teacher and then stand up and go do the very same thing the teacher was saying. That's not me. That's not me. You know, that's why I like to say the teachers, well, for me personally, teachers weren't that important for me at school. Well, I'm that type of learner. They weren't really that important. So their teaching styles didn't really affect me. But I could see the way it affected other learners. Well, I say it didn't affect me because I knew who I was and I knew how I was. I knew that I am not dumb. I am not dumb. I'm actually smart. It's just that I don't need anyone to explain anything to me. In order for me to understand something, I need to explain it to myself. Actually, if I don't understand it, I need to ask questions after I have tried to do it myself and see that I can't do this thing. So let me go seek for help. But in most cases, I learn by just sitting down and teaching myself, reading, practicing. Then you will see that I'm smart. But if you expect to stand in front of me and teach me something, and then without me doing it first, you expect me to do it just by listening to you, I can't do that thing. So most of my teachers didn't understand that situation, So that is why I say our teachers really need to look at the way they teach the learners. Because some learners end up thinking they are dumb when they are not. It's just that the teacher doesn't understand that this learner learns in a different way, So people shouldn't be mad when Ramaphosa is saying that could have benefited the country, because he's right. It could have benefited the country. Even if we can do it now, it is still going to benefit the country. It's just that right now it's going to be a very, very big inconvenience, because we can't just have kids running around here, because we are not transitioning from anything. So it's going to be a very, very big inconvenience. But if it was done back then, it would have been something that benefits the country. And to all the people who say, who's going to teach our kids if we close the schools for 2 years? What are our kids going to learn? Some parents, I really don't understand what's wrong with some parents. Well, I'm not saying schools should be closed for 2 years. But if you are a parent, you are going to come here and say your child won't learn anything for 2 years if the schools close, then you must rethink your parenting styles. I don't think it's a good thing for a parent to say if the schools close for 2 years, then it means his child won't learn anything for 2 years. No. School shouldn't be the only place where your kid gets information. Teachers shouldn't be the only people that are teaching your kids. If schools close for 2 years, you should be teaching your kids for 2 years. I mean, we understand that maybe you are working. We understand that maybe you run a business. You don't have the time to do that. But I can tell you that teaching your kid is your responsibility if the school's closed. So if your kids will stay for 2 years without learning anything, that is not the fault of the government. That's your fault as the parent. Even right now, when the schools are open, your kid shouldn't be learning only from school. You should be also teaching your kids. Can't they? Okay, no, that one, let me leave it. Let me leave it. That is just what I wanted to talk about in today's video. So tell me on the comment section down below, what do you think about this whole situation? But if you just enjoyed this video or you learned something new, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. My name is Emmanuel and this is Mzansi Versity, the place where we transform lives through knowledge and information. Let's meet again on another video.